All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Total Annihilation Replays. Today, I'm trying a little new setup here. Normally, I like to do these regular videos at my brother's house so we can get a little bit better quality audio, but I'm limited on time, and I figured there'd be a need, a strong desire for some high quality Total Annihilation content, and so I'm here to provide that for you today. And how we're going to go about that is we're going to watch a very old game now, and we're going to go back into the classics. This is original Total Annihilation, and this is from the vault of EvilScott, right here, representing as Evangelist, number one, and he's going to be he's got a game here up against Tag Dominator. So we've seen some excellent games, of course, with Dominator in the past. I think this is the first time we brought EvilScott in. I may have to stand corrected on that. And we are playing on the ice map Anteer Strait. So this one is, let's see here. Here we go. All right, first thing here now, and I'll slow this down here so you guys can. I'll keep it slow to start here. You can see actually they're setting the game to +3 speed, which was something that EvilScott liked to do. I can't stand +3 speed. Dominator, he originally wanted 5, but in the chat before the game, Dominator said no, and they settled on a +3. At about this time, actually, I think I managed to get a game with EvilScott where they played at +10, where he and I played at +10 or something silly like that. Scott was always a really good player, but did all kinds of funky, weird stuff like this. I guess he just liked to click fast. So on the north side here, we have EvilScott and Evangelist, and then down on the bottom left, we have Dominator. So, well, it looks like my comm is stuck here, so we're just going to set him to hold fire. I was going to try and see, the wind is actually good here, and you can see what Dom is doing is pretty common on this map. It's maybe a little risky to walk the 2 mexes, but you can see he's got 3 wins, and then he's pushing out the air. You can see Scott is going title, and he's simply got, I don't know why he did, he's just doesn't like accessing E. I don't know. He was trying to deg on these ice right here, and he degunned his mechs. That's going to put him a little bit behind, especially consider Dom has already got his air plant done. He is pushing out a fighter, though. He anticipates Scott is going air, and Scott is, in fact, going air. I'll speed it up a little bit as we get going. Title's good, and wind is erratic, if I remember right on this one. Tom's starting out, and he's got some titles in the water. Okay, and Scott's going bomber. So now this is the normal in an OTA game, and this actually applies to Pro TA too. What we call kind of the TA is not a rock, paper, scissors game in that one unit beats another unit that beats another unit in general, but this is the one situation where that kind of it's not necessarily like one side beats one side or like one group of units. Here you have fighter typically beats bomber. All right, and then to beat a fighter, you can actually build a construction air and then drop a missile tower real fast, and that beats a fighter. But then bomber will beat a construction air. So you have this nice little loop that's all within the same factory that if you get it wrong, you can start out at a deficit. So Scott's got his bomber out, and he is going down to do battle with Dom's fighter. Actually, I'm not sure why Dom didn't go ahead and send that in. That was pretty normal at this time to try and get that fighter rush out and in. But if Dom drops this fighter, he'll have a nice start here. Dom's got his bomber out at this point. Now remember, they're playing at +3 speed. I'm going to say the advantage is probably EvilScott to that one because he has been messing around with this whole bunch. Changing the game speed totally throws off bombing timing. At least it does for me. I'm not as good as some of these guys. At least I say that. Scott's first bombing run comes in, bags that. So yeah, I think maybe at a lower speed. I think he would have had he would have been a little more successful there. First run by Dom. You can see here, Scott went ahead and put the missile tower up. Now, right at the beginning of the game, you may have saw something flash in the top left that said EHA off, and that is things like the markers. So that's why you're not seeing any markers show up, and also TA hook. is something that is EHA related. Dom should be able to bag this bomber right here. Oh boy. There you go, and he brings down the bomber. His base is in pretty bad shape at this point. His bomber's damaged, but still alive because of the missile tower. We can see Scott's pushing out more air cons and more missile towers. I actually kind of like what Scott's doing here. I love me some air cons. Simple as. Okay. Dom's finally got a con out. He's picking up some metal. You can see he's really stalling hard on energy, whereas Scott, he's sitting on 4 of these titles right here that have not been bombed. Ooh. That was a terrible run by Dominator right there. He got basically a nano frame of a metal extractor, damaged a missile tower, and dropped 2 bombers. Certainly not a good trade. Advantages to EvilScott at this point with 3 air cons. The nice thing about this is you can actually have 1 air con guard another one, and you can fly it over and try and take over something like this. Now, this is where C, if they both had Skeeters in, then Dom could send them over here to try and cover and protect this. But that is not the situation at this point. Right now, the advantage is to Scott. Dom gets his mech backs up. He's building his own missile tower. Scott is building an Atlas at this point. And he's trying to protect his island from additional air raids. 2 fighters now from Dom. And this is scary, because if he's going to think he's going to Atlas his comm over, if he gets caught out, Dom has the air superiority at this point. That is going to be 1 dead EvilScott, which many a comical game has ended with a comm lift that ends poorly. Now, the one thing about this map, too, is there's these, and if I remember right, these are difficult to kill with Skeeters. So you can actually get the middle of the map covered and get a ton of metal income, because these are all +2s here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them right in the middle. That's +10. That's more than on any individual island. There goes the comm going for a ride. And Dom is none the wiser. Scott drops him in the water just in case Dom actually has something built up over here. You can see he's coming in. He knows that Dom has fighters, so he wants to make sure that he has some protection for his commander. Because that can happen, basically, where you have 3 or 4 fighters, you don't have any missile units, and you can slowly but surely chip away at the commander. So that's a nice move. Dom pulling off the same thing, though, except he's actually moving and taking the more metal-rich middle. He didn't bring an aircon up with it. Watching today for this particular one, we have Loke, Legion of Chaos, Anti, and also the famous TC Gandalf himself. There are many people, I'm sure, who could regale us with tales of the mischief of TC Gandalf. You'll have to ask in the on TA Universe or the TA Discord if you want to hear anything about that. There we go. Nice run by Scott right there. Takes out the 2 mechs and bags of wind. Which, without the EHA on, he's basically having to memorize where everything is at. Dom's fighters are coming back down. Right now, this looks like a nice advantage to Scott. He's now trying to bomb out the aircraft plant with Dom's fighters in the middle. 3 more bombs. One more run, and then down goes the bomber. Scott's got another bomber ready. If he remembers this that. Now, if I remember playing games without markers, and that's how I would generally remember things, is in the relation to permanent features on the map. So let's say, okay, just up and to the left of this mechs, that's where the airplane is. Or like, oh, there's a missile tower here. It's directly beneath beneath the mechs. Also, things you can see these little scorch marks. That was a good way to remember where things are located. Dom, I think, no, he didn't have the aircon repair the aircraft facility. And down it goes. The metal is a nice wreck for Dom, who's just been flying around here. And he's got all of the metal in the middle except for that one at the bottom, and he's going C. Scott's going K-Bot. Of course, Pels are going to be a pretty big advantage. this point, Scott is up by about 1,000. We are a mere 10 minutes into the game right now. Dom's lost his starting factory. Scott is going for a walk, most likely to build that right there, a shipyard. 3 missile towers, and he's running all of his economy off these. If I recall, like I said, I think metal here is, sorry, the titles are worth quite a lot. You can see here we're having just a missile tower or something in the middle would have really helped him out, or even having some searches up. Now Scott's going to clean out all those metal spots in the middle. His fighters were back home. So it's one thing about trying to rely on fighters for your anti-air defense is they require a decent amount of time. You got to be able to see and intercept what's coming in. One of the things that Dom should have done, but he didn't do, is he didn't get a radar up here in the middle. He likely would have caught that bomber sooner, been able to have his fighters over before he lost everything. He's got C though. Scott's working. That's very, considering Dom is air, although I guess he did know he got the factory. This is an interesting thing. He's going straight to Crusaders. He probably saw the Atlas here and he figures Dom's comm is in the middle and underwater, so I want something to be able to harass him with. In come the Skeets. These missile towers would be more than enough to push these away. You can see Scott has radar up, so he sees he's coming in. He moves his aircon to safety. 3 Skeets is not enough to bring down a Crusader, especially with these missile towers backing him up. This is going to be some nice, easy metal right there. 80, 80, 80. 240 metal for Scott. Dom sending a con ship to I don't know where. 2 shipyards now belonging to Dom in the middle. Scott still has his air plant, building bombers, sending him out, and raiding. The only build power Dom has on land are his commander and this single construction air. Dom pulls his fighters to the middle, just in time for Scott's bomber to come down. That's just bad luck. Just bombing randomly, just to see if he hits something. Keeps an eye on that. He's probably going to memorize that location at this point. He'll come down, swing by, and tag it. Here come Dom's fighters. Nice. Bags the titles. At this point, Scott's lead has extended. Oh, he's got a sub and a Crusader. Still no Skeets. Oh, he reclaimed his shipyard now. And he's going K-bots because he saw the Dom going all those Skeets. Not a bad call to move for Pels. Dom's going to know that that sub's here, and this sub is a lethal threat to his to him in the sea. This is enough Skeets to bring this down. If you really want to protect him, then you got to kind of move whichever one it's shooting at. Scott needs to get that out of there if he doesn't want to lose it. The sub should be able to protect it. Yeah, I don't know why Dom sent his con down here to be destroyed. Dom's con is out of the water, and now these assets are close enough that he could degun the sub if Scott tries to bring it in. But here is, since Scott still has his air factory up with a bunch of air cons, this is all Scott's metal as far as I'm concerned. Now this is I can't believe there we go. Down goes the Atlas right as Dom brings in his commander, and Scott self-destructs that. That's hilarious. Going on a collision course. In come the Pels with the sub to back it up too. That's actually pretty deadly. For Dom. He is not going to be in good shape. Scott could very easily send these Pels down here and take this island. Now, because his comm's over here, and Scott saw that his comm was over here, he actually knows he's free to move this sub in. Assuming that there isn't any a Crusader lying around, which there is not. So when he sees it, Good intuition by Scott there. The Pels, okay, yep, he is sending the Pels down here to take out that island. Destroying the construction ship, that's smart. And then when you're aiming a sub, you got to make sure you're shooting at the pillars if you want to destroy the shipyard. And that's what he's trying to do there. You see how it's kind of flying out of the water? That's he's trying to force fire it. Really, he should sink this Crusader first because it's almost done. There you go, the Crusader's taken care of. Metal is bombed out again. Just that air, those fighters, they're just not doing anything. One shipyard down. The game is certainly Scott's to lose at this point. And Tom says GG with the Pels at the starting island, the bomber over the top of his commander, and a sub destroying his sea. That is, I think, an acceptable point to say, you know what, that's that. And the victory goes to EvilScott.